obviously was down 21 and then tightened it up and Wood went on stretch with those threes. What do you feel like happened after that? After you made some changes, put Payne in, and fall out, what do you feel like led to?
You know what, man, it's one of those games where you just have to stay with it and live with the results. I was just proud of the fact that we didn't give in. I think we were down 17 at half, 22 maybe in the third, and then I think 15 in the fourth after Wood hit a few shots. Book was really good in the huddles. Even when we were down 15, I didn't see it, but I heard he got the guys together and told them, like, this is nothing, but we got to stay here. And we've been talking about that all the training camp. Like, how can we deal with the emotional ups and downs of the game? I thought that helped us win the game tonight. We just stayed with it. I mean, obviously, Book has 28. DA was amazing in the second half because he wasn't in foul trouble. He did pick up his fourth, but he was able to stay out of the foul trouble that he had in the first half. And then Damian comes in and just makes plays. And I thought McHale's timely deflections and rebounds offensively really helped us too. But it's just one of those emotional games where you try to stay as steady as you can. When the waves of threes or when Luke is making plays, it can deflate you a little bit. I thought our guys did a pretty good job of staying with it tonight.
What made you go with have Paul sit? It's like 6 minutes in the game, sit.
Well, that's normally where I take him out anyway. So I usually give him a 3-minute break and then I bring him in to close. That's been the rotation for us. But Cam came in, we had like a good rhythm, and I just felt like it was the move to just stay with Cam, and Chris was engaged and telling guys, it was almost like he was out there. But it was really his time to come out. I tried to get him out around the 7-6 and give him about 3 minutes rest and then have him come in and close. Cam did such a good job with that group. That group as a whole was pretty good on both ends, and so I just rolled with it.
Cam Johnson, update on him?
Yeah, he just had a cramp. He was cramping up. Nah, it was his leg, I think. So I think he's fine. I was grateful for that because I didn't know what it was, and then they told me that he was cramping.
Monty, what does it say about Damian, pretty quiet for 3 quarters, and then to hit shots like that in the fourth?
I just think guys who've been in those situations, who've been in those environments, like he was in Golden State, like not much phases a guy like that. If it does phase him, he knows how to deal with it, and he's been around guys who've walked through those situations before. I think that rubs off on you, and his ability to bounce back after he gave up the and one that tied the game, to be able to come back and the willingness to take that shot and let alone make it says a lot about who he is. But I just feel like guys who've been in those environments, who've been in those practices, who've been in those games, they handle those situations a lot better than guys who haven't.
With the amount of pick and roll that Book and DA were running, is that something you wanted to see more of, or did they just figure that out as they were playing together?
No, it was just what the game showed us. Both teams were, if you charted how many defenses we changed tonight, I bet both teams were all over the board, from zone to switching to blitzes. They were doing everything, and we were. And we just, we read the game. That's what the game was showing us. They were blitzing Book, and we were able to be productive on the backside. I thought a huge play was DA getting it in his little midi area, and he was converting because we told him to stop and make the pass on the backside. I don't think he saw the blitz, so Book just threw it. He caught it and was able to finish. But that was what the game showed us, and we just kind of flowed with that.
Did you expect going into the season or into this game that Chris not playing in those moments was something that might happen? Because it is pretty impressive.
No, I had no. I'm always open-minded in those situations, and I think, as much as you want to have Chris out there, I know Chris wants to win. But when I took him out, my plan was to get him back in at 3. But then the game was going in a good way. and Cam was playing well, so I didn't want to take him out. So it wasn't, I didn't think it was that big of a decision, but I guess it is because it's Chris.
Is it nice to get Payne's confidence maybe up a little bit after he kind of fell out of the playoff rotation at the end last year?
Yeah, I think for everybody. Make no mistake, today was an emotional day. I mean, maybe not for them because they went on to the Western Conference Finals, but the NBA, they scheduled them on the first night, so you can imagine the build-up for the practices and the amount of information we threw at the guys about this game. And so I think for everybody to be able to mentally and emotionally stay with it was huge for us.
Monty, after the traps for Devin were such a problem for him in the postseason last year, how did you like his ability to make that quick hit to DeAndre and then DeAndre making the play?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we work on for sure, but they have to execute it. We'll give them structure, and then a lot of times they'll go out there and talk about the angle of the screen, where he needs to be in the pocket. It certainly doesn't work if you don't have guys who can make plays on the backside. But DA's become really good in the pocket. He's under control. Sometimes you'll watch him jump stop and make a pass to the weak side. Sometimes he'll convert. And then it's hard to make those passes. Book sees double teams almost every single night, so that doesn't make it easy. But I think those two have a bit of a rhythm in that environment.
You acknowledge the emotion of the game, this particular matchup. To win in this fashion, what does that do for your team in terms of psyche?
Well, I mean, we have a bunch of vets on our team, so I'm sure we'll be able to turn the page, but they should enjoy it. I mean, we got a few hours to enjoy it, and then, tomorrow we'll turn the page and get ready for the next game. But I think anytime you win in the NBA, it's cool, but, to beat the team that knocks you out, it doesn't erase that feeling and that hurt, but it does help you grow the next season.
Coach, on the bench, you had talked before about it being a committee. It seemed like tonight you were trying to figure out what would work. You took Dario.
Oh man, I felt so bad for those guys. I really did. I had Dario in, Josh in and out, Biz in and out. I was all over the place with rotations, and sometimes that happens because you're just trying to find a combination that will help you gain some momentum. But I also understand what that feels like as a player because I was in that situation before, so I felt bad for those guys because they weren't able to get out there and play in what players would call a rhythm. But we were just trying to win the game and just searching for any type of combination that would give us some momentum.
Mikal Bridges grabbed 11 rebounds out there, leading the team. I can't remember the last time Mikal led the team in rebounds. How good was that to see him fighting for a lot of contested?
I mean, his effort and Kevin Young's just persistence that we go to the offensive boards. I mean, he's been driving me nuts with that for 2 years. And Mikal, that's right up his alley. I think he and Torrey are the best at our team outside of DA. DA does it naturally, but it's really cool because he's guarding a top guy every night. And then he's got to slash and cut and, shoot threes. So to expend that kind of energy says a lot about his conditioning, but his mental fortitude. That's a heavy load. We put a lot on his shoulders, but he carried it tonight.
Hey, Monty, in the back here, what was your concern level at halftime?
We were down 17, so I'm sure my cheeks were puckered a little bit. I mean, it's not a comfortable situation, but that happens in the NBA. Concerned about the score, but more concerned with how we were playing. We were making so many mistakes on defense. We had the wrong guys rotating. Luka was stretching us out. We weren't blitzing him tonight, but it looked like a blitz because we just allowed him to stretch us out. That made our rotations really long. So that was my concern. My concern was the defense. Then offensively, I just thought we just didn't have a rhythm at all. And then in the second half, I think we had 62 points, so that alleviated some of the concern. But for the most part, if I did have any, it was just the mistakes on defense.
Coach, in the third quarter, Booker looked like he turned an ankle.
Yeah, he did.
Is it anything of how bad that may have been? Because usually when you can play after you turn it in, you know, once you take that shoe off,
Yeah.
it kind of swell up on you, so.
You know, I don't know, I don't wanna speculate about it, but he was, typically, I can tell when he's gotta come out. I've done that where you turn it a little bit and it's achy, but you can still play. And then you take the shoe off, like you said, you just wanna get treatment on it right away because it could be stiff the next day. And so I would imagine he's gonna have some achiness and stiffness, but he looked me in the eyes like, Coach, I'm good. And when you see him running up and down the floor, you know, the way that he was, you have a bit more confidence.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Thank you.